Hey everyone, this is Kirsten Johnson, and I'm going to be presenting today the rise of colorectal cancer in young adults. Don't mind me, I am 7 months pregnant, so I will be breathing a little heavy throughout this presentation. Yes, so let's get started. I just want to say, this is a big thing for me, just because I've had multiple family members with not just colorectal cancer, but with all types of cancer, lung cancer, liver cancer, and then I've had both of my uncle and my aunt. One of them had rectal cancer, the other had colon cancer. However, they both are over the age of 50 when they were diagnosed with these things. But I have been seeing on the news and on articles that there has been a significant increase in colorectal cancer diagnosis of those of the ages of 20 to 39. And this is alarming to me because I'm almost 24. I'm within this range, and I have been affected by stomach issues my whole life, so that has always been a worry for me, like the foods that I eat, my diet, my lifestyle. So I just want to start. I have here, and y'all can't really see it that well, and I'm so sorry. I have my abstract here, my introduction, some graphs, and then my methods and procedures here. Just some short studies that were found just to correlate diet and lifestyle as risk factors for colorectal cancer and why they're increasing in our age. And I also have my conclusion here and a personal reflection and call to action. As well as my many references that I had to go through to get all this information out. So here I will read my abstract to you guys, and then I'm just going to give a brief introduction of everything else, talk about my methods, procedures, and move forward. So here we have the abstract. Colorectal cancer is the third most commonly diagnosed cancer among men and women in the United States. According to the American Cancer Society, approximately 157,000 new cases of colorectal cancer are expected in 2025. So the study I got this from was last year, and however it was very accurate. While colorectal cancer incidents have declined by about 1% annually in adults over 50 since the mid-1980s, likely due to improved screening and increased awareness of diet and lifestyle, incidence among adults under 50, so those 20 to 39, even 49, has increased by 2% annually since 2012. Notably, this rise is most pronounced in individuals aged 20 to 39. This concerning trend raises critical questions about the role of diet, sedentary behavior, genetic factors, and environmental exposure in early onset colorectal cancer. This study explores the correlation between dietary habits and the increasing rates of colon cancer in younger adults, highlighting the need for targeted prevention strategies within this demographic. So to kind of go over this, individuals over the age of 50, we have found, a large decrease in not only diagnoses, but, prevention and longevity of life when they do find it because of the screening. So we have a routine screening at 50, and then most of the time if you have a certain panel of symptoms at any age, they're going to do a colonoscopy on you because they might be expecting colorectal cancer. And so that is that. But for those 20 to 39, we could silently have colorectal cancer or have very abnormal but normalish things, like say you're having a change in stools, very frequent diarrhea, very frequent constipation, and you're thinking these things are completely normal, this happens to everybody, whatever, and you ignore it, right? And a few years go down the road, and then you start having significant symptoms, and it is stage 4 colorectal cancer, and you just never know. And you could be my age, 23, and that is the crazy part. So I do want to go over again, that according to the American Cancer Society, it is projected that in 2025, which we're already here and we're almost finishing, there will be approximately 107,000 new cases of colon cancer and an additional 50,000 new cases of rectal cancer reported nationwide. And I also talk about the 1% decrease in 50-year-olds per year, and then the 2.4 increase of younger individuals, 20 to 39, annually. And those things are important. You know, that kind of shows you it's like 1%, 2.4. We have a decrease in those. We have a really drastic increase for younger individuals. Let's see. So this alarming increase raises critical questions about the underlying causes, especially considering that this age group traditionally has a lower risk profile for colorectal cancer. Among potential contributors, lifestyle factors such as diet and physical inactivity are increasingly under scrutiny for their possible link to this shift. Because what we can see is that there is a big change in our lifestyle from like the beginning of say 2000s, and now we're here in the 2020s. We are finding that, you know, technology has made it so we can be a little bit more sedentary with our lifestyles. We are not frequently as moving around. We do have more sedentary lifestyles when it comes to, you know, most of our jobs that we have now. And then diet, you know, we eat a lot of processed foods, processed meats, you know, that, and even some foods that are considered to be healthy are not healthy, and we consume those on a daily basis sometimes. And you know, a lot of times we don't have time for diets. Say, you know, this age group, we are very busy, we work, we go to school, whatever. We don't have time to worry about our diet all the time. We eat when we can, we eat what we can in the time frame, what we can afford in this economy, and then we move forward. And so that's kind of what I wanted to highlight in this whole thing is diet and lifestyle is very important for us to prevent colon cancer for our age group. And so we just need to be aware of the signs and symptoms of that, and you know, never feel like you are being annoying if you have any of the symptoms. And I don't have them all listed here. I just know that changes of stools and abdominal pain, blood in the stool, an large amount of blood, weakness, which weakness comes with a lot of other cancers. If you're feeling any of those symptoms, you need to make sure you go get checked out, and let a doctor know. Fight for yourself. Tell them if they don't agree with you, say I want a colonoscopy, or I want an occult blood test, which tests for blood in the stool. I want something like that. I want a GI profile. Those are very important. We have some of the hidden risk factors of colon cancer, and I wanted to point these out because these are the big ones. So we have alcohol use, 51%. A lot of people drink, and it is legal. So once you're over the age of 21 in America, you can drink freely as many times, as many whatever as you want to. However, alcohol has been proven to be a risk factor for every cancer. Unfortunately, it's just not good for you, and you know, it may be fun to do every once in a while, but so I think the increased use of alcohol and has made a big difference in maybe the colorectal cancer as well, diagnosis. Lack of exercise. I know in this generation we are going to the gym maybe more than the older generations. However, we do not move nearly as much as they do due to our technology. And that could be our transportation technologies, the fact that our jobs are more sedentary because of those technologies. And yeah, that's kind of what I want to make. Obesity has a 38% risk of, is a hidden risk factor for colon cancer, so keep that in mind. And poor diet, and this has something to do with obesity. And that, I've already talked about that, poor diet, processed foods. Simple as that. And that is this chart right here that I tried to highlight a little bit, is the size of and the shape of a colon. excuse me. And here I just have the graphs and the increase over the years in the incidence and the deaths. And the incidence and the deaths are pretty similar actually from colon cancer. So it looks like both men and women, it's pretty high. It's close to the, I'd say 700,000 for both. However, men are a little higher than women on the chart when it comes to incidence colorectal cancer. Deaths are also pretty high. Looks like we got about 550,000 deaths starting here, and that looks like 1990, and now 2020, and they stopped the study at 2020. It has just shot up. It went almost linear, so not good. And men and women separately, we know women's death rate is a little lower, but not much lower. But it's just showing here that there is definitely an increase since the 1990s to the 2020s. So we're doing something wrong. Genetic factors do not always, they cannot contribute to this and give us that information. I have two studies here. One just talks about out of a large amount of potential articles, there were a whole 10 studies meeting criteria that link diet to colorectal cancer. And they just used inclusion and exclusion criteria, age limits, types of dietary measures, and study design. So just to kind of see what their lifestyles were like, what kind of diets they ate. And then access, quality, or risk of bias of included studies. So if there was any of those studies that could possibly have bias, like somebody losing a parent or whatever, somebody is more biased towards one way or the other, they excluded those studies, didn't even include them. Here, this other one, they just they looked for adjustments for co-founders like BMI, diet, and smoking. They took those into consideration and stated the study, and it was an NIH-AARP study. The participants that stated they exercised or participated in sports more than 5 times a week and had a reduced risk of colon cancer compared to those who were more sedentary. How'd they find out about reduced risks? I don't know. I guess they used certain testing. I could not find that information. Maybe they used certain blood tests and everything to determine that. So those are my methods and procedures. And, my conclusion is, and I've already stated this before, that this is a big thing. And I think because I'm in that demographic of the 20 to 39, I feel harshly about it. So keep in mind of the increase rates, diet, lifestyle, and what you're putting in your mouth. I just want to finish this off, and I wrote this myself, with a personal reflection and call to action. As someone who falls within the age range most affected by this rising trend, this topic is not just an academic concern for me, it's a personal concern. It's a wake-up call. Our generation is facing a new kind of health challenge, one that isn't rooted in age, but in how we live. If we want to protect our futures, we need to start making changes now. So I challenge all of us, whether you're a healthcare provider, a student, a policymaker, or just someone trying to live healthier, to pay attention to the choices we make every day. Think about what we're putting into our bodies. Think about how much time we spend sitting versus moving. And most importantly, start conversations that encourage awareness, early screenings, and healthier lifestyles. The earlier we act, the better chance we have to reverse this trend, not just for ourselves, but the future generations. So I end that off by saying, sometimes, if you have a Snicker bar and an apple, maybe pick the apple and not the Snicker bar. I know right now I pick the Snicker bar, but that's okay. But thank y'all for listening. Hope it was somewhat educational and not just me jibber jabbering. But that is all. Thank y'all.